Kahalal Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Bahashim Rakakwadash. Kahalal is all praises to Yahweh. That's the name of the Heavenly Father. Bahashim is in the name of Yahushai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Bahashim in the name of Rakakwadash, the Holy Spirit. Okay, trying to come back with a lesson. This one is on Gordy Rose and these quantum computers that are going to be used to bring in this new world order system. So I'm going to start off with a video. We're going to get into it. I'm going to go somewhat a little bit deep into it. I'm going to chime in.
So I'm going to talk about aliens. But before I do that, we had a little bit of interesting news today that's kindred relevant, and I wanted to
It's fair use.
Share it with you because I'm pretty proud of it. Kindred was named to a list of the MIT's smartest 50 companies. And this is a very prestigious list. It's very hard to make it. But the thing that was distressing about it is that they have this map that they show of where all these companies are from. And there wasn't a single company on the list that was from Canada. Not a single one, which was a little surprising, of course, because we're from Vancouver. But they thought that we were from San Francisco because we have an office there, but we're not. We're from here.
Damn, let's go right here.
Company D-Wave has been doing this. Thanks. I didn't really have much to do with it, but so this is one of them. This is one of the processors. And a lot of interesting things happened to me over the years there. I got sent pajamas.
CERN, D-Wave, and the quantum key to the abyss. Once again, CERN and D-Wave and the quantum key to the abyss. Okay, so this is a real company out here. This guy actually, like he says, he owns, I don't think we got into that, but this guy owns a few companies. One is called Kindred, I believe, and then the other one he owns is called D-Wave, in which he just spoke of, that he's a Canada-based company, but he also has a facility in the Bay Area, San Francisco to be exact. Let's continue. See, this is what these guys are about. They're trying to have that key to the bottomless pit. Okay?
A whole bunch of stuff. There's lots of interesting things that happen when you build something like a quantum computer. But just as an aside, because I thought it was funny, one of the interesting things that's happened from the D-Wave story is there's this gigantic conspiracy that's arisen on the internet that goes like this. So D-Wave builds quantum computers. The way that they work, if you know how this works, is one of the interpretations is that you tap into these parallel universes and they do computations. Sounds really weird. But what's happened is this idea has been hijacked to describe something called the Mandela Effect, which is this thing where the past changes. So think about something you know to be true from the past. And then imagine you went out on the internet and you can't find it at all. It's not there. It doesn't match with your experience.
Okay, so I'm going to take a second out because I've noticed that a lot of people, over from these past couple months have been talking about this Mandela Effect and how quantum, not necessarily talking about how quantum computers have anything to do with it, but they're talking about things have been changing and they're using CERN to do that. Well, I understand their argument, but I don't believe that they're actually using CERN. And if they are, they're using it through the computer system to change whatever's on the media to erase things, using their algorithms to hide certain information. And they're getting rid of certain books and changing labeling. So and they're utilizing their media, such as their their news outlets and whatever the case be, to push a different narrative, to have people think a certain way, to forget about the past. You know, they're changing up books, they're constantly trying to attack the Bible. You know, they're revising a lot of information that has been out, and you know, just changing up. And also something that a lot of people have been bringing out. You know, shout out to the Great Millstone Camps. uh I was watching a video the other day. The brothers was talking about those brothers was talking about double speak. Okay, so they're changing even definitions of words, because even when you go to the definition of a word, you'll have a dictionary that was printed in 2015 might have a different definition of a word from a dictionary that was printed in 1994. You know, I'm just throwing some numbers out there, but through the uh through the changing up and the switching and the attacking and the use of their media, that's how these people are causing this Mandela effect. It's just smoke and mirrors. It's nothing too, it's nothing too heavy. You feel me? Once you get that they control the media, they can cause all of these effects of things changing. Let's
These
go.
people think that D-Wave is responsible, and CERN. And of course, the quantum key to the abyss factors into it somehow. I'm not exactly sure how. Okay, so that's just D-Wave. I did that for about 15 years. It was a lot of fun. A big science project that we turned into a commercial entity. That was a warm-up for Kindred. So Kindred is much, much, much more ambitious than D-Wave. And what Kindred is trying to do is build real AI. So what you've heard about AI is not what we mean by AI. What we mean by AI is a software system that can do literally anything that a human can do. Literally anything. And obviously, computers are better at things than people in lots of different ways. So now imagine, not only can they do everything that a human can do, but they can do everything that the best human at any task could do better than them. So imagine there was the mental Olympics of the 100-meter dash, and Usain Bolt is the fastest person. Now imagine that's some kind of a mental thing, like writing a novel or writing whatever. Imagine now that the thing is so much faster than Usain Bolt. Like, for example, it's a spaceship, yeah? It's still doing the same thing, but it's doing it so much better because we're limited, because we're people. So what Kindred is trying to do is solve this problem. How do you build machines that are better than people at everything? Now, there's a mental block that we have here when we think about this. Because when you think about that, one of your questions might be, for example, what are the applications of this? So imagine this. Imagine for $10, let's say, I could build a machine, like a little robot that had fingers and eyes and all that.
All right,
and it could do your
we're
job
gonna skip through some of this now.
better than you, no matter what it is. And I could sell that to your employer for, say, $15 and make a profit.
And really,
instead of having to pay you, he says things like this.
And really, we already see the replacement of human resources with machines, okay? And that's only going to get more and more. The magnitude is going to go greater as time progresses, okay? Especially, Lord willing, I'm going to get to this other video about this mass production of humanoid looking robots, okay? So not only are you going to have these machines that are robots, but you're going to have robots that look humanoid, and we're also going into this age where they are connecting humans to the machines through this quantum through quantum mechanics and quantum computing, all right? Through something called through a theory called quantum entanglement, in which entangles two devices, which we already see that happening with you could link your phone with another device. You could link your phone to the devices with your house, or you could link it with somebody else's phone. You could link it up to your glucose monitor, whatever the case be, you know. But now, through this microchip that they're going to insert in the people, is going to hook people up to this 5G, 6G network, and the quantum computer is going to be the basis to solving all of this, these people being entangled into this internet system, okay, which is called the Internet of Things. Let's get to I wanted to get to the 7-minute mark. Okay, let's get right there.
And boy, you better be ready, because the mothership is landing right on the front lawn of the White House, or wherever you wanted to land, on that day.
So this guy's talking
the
about
amount
aliens.
of resources.
But these aliens are going to be these demons, because he's talking about these computers can compute faster, or not even for the most part faster, because if Lord willing, I get to another video that I was just watching, that these quantum computers are not as fast as these other supercomputers, but they can just handle more. They can compute more problems, solve more problems. They can solve more problems at once, so they could solve multiple problems at once, so they could solve way more functions than a modern supercomputer. Okay.
That would be marshaled to try to figure out what to do would encompass the whole world. AI is just like that. So when this thing that I'm talking about happens,
AI
it's going to be exactly
the encompass the whole world. Okay? And who's going to be connected to it? They want humans to be devices, and that's why they gave you androids, okay? Androids. And what is an android? An android is a human that has a mechanical part to it. And this mechanical part is going to be this microchip that they want to implant into people. And it also has to do with this juice that they rolled out, in which I believe is setting up the fiber optic system within people's body. You know, just like how you have a telephone, but in order to be connected into the system, you could buy a phone all day, okay, and it has all of the components and the wiring and the setup to connect to the system. But you need to, before it connects to that system, the phone always needs that chip, okay? And this is how they want to do with humans.
Thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to...
apologies. And where we find that chip, okay, this is a Revelation, the 13th chapter, starting at verse 16, when it's talking about the mark of the beast, okay? This is where we did that mark of the beast, is talking about microchips, okay? That mark, the translation for that word, when you look it up in a Strong's Concordance, is talking about charagma, which is a engraving and etching. So it's going to be something that inserts into people, and it's going to be this microchip that's going to connect people into the Internet of Things, in which this quantum computers is going to be part of this whole thing, in which is going to delegate and control people, this artificial intelligence, okay?
Be like us. So alien means, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this.
So let's read what Elon said. With artificial intelligence, we are summoning the demon. You know all those stories where there's the guy with the pentagram and the holy water, and he's like, yeah, he's sure he can control the demon. Doesn't work out. Okay, and that was Elon Musk at MIT in 2014. And what is MIT? I believe it's either the Massachusetts or the Maryland Institute for Technology. Let's go.
When you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called Cosmicism. And the essence of Cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US, and underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out. So, on that pleasant note, we're hiring people to try.
Fucking demon, man. Excuse my language. Look at this. He already admits and he knows that this is going to not end well, but he said, look, we're hiring people to take on this feat. All right? And why are they hiring people? Let's get to some scriptures now. Let's get to some scriptures. Okay? Let's get Isaiah 19. All right. The burden of Egypt. This is Isaiah 19, chapter 19. Let's start at verse 1. The burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And what's going to be, this is going to be one of their idols, okay? It's just like Gordy just said. These things is not going to be, these things are going to be superhuman, and they're not going to give a hoot about you, okay? And shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Okay, just like he gave you the example on the video, that what they're doing is summoning demons. Okay, just like Ouija boards and uh, all of those other little occultic novelties or magic books, they're harsher than novelties. They're not novelties, but this is what they're doing with their mechanisms, their mechanics, their intelligence, okay? Their technology. Verse 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards, okay? And when we talking about this video that we just seen, these are the wizards. This is when you talking about a Ouija board, you talking about people drawing pentagrams to try to, what are they trying to do? They're trying to communicate with spirits, okay? And when we talking about familiar spirits, that's who they're trying to contact, because people always think, I'm trying to they're trying to bring up somebody from the past, okay, who has died, similar to like when Saul sought out that witch, okay, so he could try to bring up the prophet Samuel from the dead, okay, but he already knew that uh, there's a law in which a witch must die, a witch has to be burnt, okay, in all of these, your prominent figures, these are witches and warlocks, okay, that practice witchcraft. So yeah, Gordy said he was hiring because Gordy's a damn witch, okay? And just like it said, and the spirit of Eve, verse 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards, and the Egyptians will I give into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. And the water shall fall from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. Okay, so what's this fierce Lord? Okay, eventually is going to be Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, but they're trying to set up this artificial intelligence to be that image of the beast. Okay, we already know the image of the beast is like the government, and that goes back to Rome, okay? But these are the same people. This is Rome 2.0, and they want their technology to govern over you, okay? And what's going to solve the computational problems for that government is going to be this AI, this which taps into a familiar spirit to get the questions and to get the answers, okay, to the calculations to these certain problems. So I have another. Let's go to the library. Defining a qubit. How does a quantum? Let's watch this video. How does a quantum computer work?
Google Fi, a phone plan by Google. Get Simply Unlimited, our most affordable unlimited plan with 35 gigabytes of high-speed data. Now starting at just $20 a month per line. And for a limited time...
A classical computer performs operations using classical bits, which can be either 0 or 1. Now, in contrast, a quantum computer uses quantum bits, or qubits, and they can be both 0 and 1 at the same time. And it is this that gives a quantum computer its superior computing power. There are a number of physical objects that can be used as a qubit: a single photon, a nucleus, or an electron. I met up with researchers who are using the outermost electron in phosphorus as a qubit. But how does that work? Well, all electrons have magnetic fields, so they're basically like tiny bar magnets. And this property is called spin. If you place them in a magnetic field, they will align with that field, just like a compass needle lines up with.
Let's get it.
A quantum computer uses quantum bits, or qubits, and they can be both 0 and 1 at the same time. And it is this that gives a quantum computer its superior computing power. There are a number of physical objects that can be used as a qubit: a single photon, a nucleus, or an electron. I met up with researchers who are using the outermost electron in phosphorus as a qubit. But how does that work? Well, all electrons have magnetic fields, so they're basically like tiny bar magnets. And this property is called spin. If you place them in a magnetic field, they will align with that field, just like a compass needle lines up with the magnetic field of the Earth. Now, this is the lowest energy state, so you could call it the 0 state, or we call it, for the electron, spin down. Now, you can put it in a 1 state or spin up, but that takes some energy.
If you took out the glass from your compass, you could turn the needle the other way, but you would have to apply some force to it. You have to push it to flip to the other side. And that is the highest energy state. In principle, if you were so delicate to really put it exactly against the magnetic field, it would stay there.
Now, so far, this is basically just like a classical bit. It's got 2 states, spin up and spin down, which are like the classical 1 and 0. But the funny thing about quantum objects is that they can be in both states at once. Now, when you measure the spin, it will be either up or down. But before you measure it, the electron can exist in what's called a quantum superposition, where these coefficients indicate the relative probability of finding the electron in one state or the other. Now, it's hard to imagine how this enables the incredible computing power of quantum computers without considering 2 interacting quantum bits. Hello. Hi. Now there are 4 possible states of these 2 electrons.
You could think that, well, that's just like 2 bits of a classical computer, right? If you have 2 bits, you can write 00, 01, 10, 11, right? There's 4 numbers. But these are still...
Okay, so we got quantum computers, quantum bits. And I want you to, I'm going to go back and let's go back a little.
Just 2 bits of
I want you to recognize.
Now, it's hard to imagine how this enables the incredible computing power of quantum computers without considering 2 interacting quantum bits. Hello. Hi.
In which way
now there are 4 possible states of these 2 quantum computers without coefficients indicate the relative probability of finding the electron in one state or the other. Now, it's hard to imagine how this enables the incredible computing power proposition, where these coefficients indicate the relative probability of finding the electron in one state or the other. Now, it's hard to imagine how this enables the incredible...
Now, let me go down here because we're talking about quantum. We're talking about quantum. So let's go to quantum. Let's look up quantum. Quantum definition. In physics, a discrete quantity of energy proportional in magnitude to the frequency of the radiation it represents. Okay, so I'm not a scientist or anything, but from what we've learned, that a quantum bit could be either 0 or 1. It could be both at the same time. It can act as 0 or 1. Okay, so now let's read this definition of quantum again. A discrete quantity of energy proportional, okay, it's proportional in magnitude to the frequency of the radiation it represents. Now, I don't know the whole mechanics breaking it down, but maybe that's connecting it as to why it could be either 0 or 1, because it's proportional to the quantity that it also represents. So it is a quantity of energy proportional in magnitude to the frequency of the radiation it represents. 2. A required or allowed amount, especially an amount of money legally payable in damages. Let's get a couple more. In physics, a quantum is the minimum amount of any physical entity involved in an interaction. The fundamental notion that a physical property can be quantized is referred to as the hypothesis of quantization. Let me read that again. The fundamental notion that a physical property can be quantized is referred to as the hypothesis of quantization. Okay, so when you're linking this with the state of your cells, and we talking about quantized from 0 to 1, and then we're talking about entanglement. Let's look up quantum entanglement, because this is just terms from physics and quantum mechanics, in which we already know that this quantum computer is going to be the basis for the problem solving of this new government. And we already seeing this now with these AI governing over people, especially on a computer and whatnot, with blackballing and what's the word that I'm looking for? Censorship. Okay, censorship. That's the word. Quantum entanglement. Let's look that up. Quantum entanglement. Definition. Quantum entanglement, the phenomenon whereby a pair of particles are generated in such a way that the individual quantum states of each are indefinite until measured, and the act of measuring one determines the result of measuring the other, even when at a distance from each other. Okay, so when we talking about there's this thing called consciousness transfer, in which they're trying to map out your brain, get your DNA, other things that they're trying to do, and they're trying to transfer it into these robots. Okay, and we're going to look at some of these robots. Because we're talking about entanglement. So you can be at two states at once, as when we're learning about these quantum bits and how they can either be 0 or 1, in which in a regular computer bit, the bit can only be 0 or 1. But in a quantum computer, the qubit, the quantum bit, can be a 0 or a 1. And as we learned, that gives you more computation skills, because now you can it adds up to all of those possibilities. And that means you have 4 possibilities, okay? Because when you add those 2 bits, that means you have 4 possibilities. Okay, it can either be 0 or 1, and that's 2 possibilities right there. Or you can have 1 and 1, that's a 3rd possibility. Or you can have 1 and 0, or you can have 0 and 0, okay, and that's a 4th possibility. So it brings up the computation skills is solving more problems just with 2 qubits. Okay, 2 qubits is solving more problems than 2 regular bits from a regular computer. Okay, so the computation's capacity is much more. So we looked in a little bit about this quantum computer, but now let's look up quadratic equations, because as I was saying earlier in that video, if you looked at the direction or the shape formed of when the guy was actually spinning that ball that had the arrow on it, if you looked at the point of the arrow, now let's go to quadratics. And this is all mathematical terminology. Quadratics. Quadratic equations. Bam. In algebra, a quadratic equation is any equation that can be rearranged in standard form as ax 2 plus bx plus c equals 0. Not going to get all into that because this is going way longer than I truly wanted it, but it's all right. It's the spirit. Quadratics. Quadratics. Let's look up parabolas, because when you have a quadratic equation, it's graphing. Let's look up this parabola. Images of parabolas. Okay. Now, this is what you get from quadratic equations. You get a graph, a parabola, and when you have parabolas, a regular graph is just going to have two. Is going to be linear. So you're only going to have one quadrant. Okay, and when you're talking about quads, we're talking about 4 parts. So when you're graphing quadratic equations, is always pursuant to these 4 different parts, okay, which go into the negative and positive on the x and y axis. So when you have two axes, the x and the y axis, and then you both have negative and positive on there, now you have 4 quadrants. And when we're talking about quantum computation and the qubits, okay, that means you're talking about these different quadrants that they can go into when talking about graphing energy, or mapping out energy on a graph, or making calculations that can go into these other dimensions. Okay, and this is why I wanted to bring this out, and I wanted to bring these graphs out, because now you can go into different dimensions. You're just not stuck on one plane, but you have 4 different planes that you could go into. Okay, and this is part of their summoning these demons, because they're trying to go on to open these different portals. All right, now let's look up let's go back to this one. Not that one. Continuing on with this video.
Computing power of quantum computers without considering two interacting quantum bits. Hello. Hi. Now there are four possible states of these two electrons.
You could think that, well, that's just like 2 bits of a classical computer, right? If you have 2 bits, you can write 00, 01, 10, 11, right? There's 4 numbers.
4 quadrants.
But these are still just 2 bits of information, right? All I need to say to determine which one of the 4 numbers you have in your computer code is the value of the first bit and the value of the second bit. Right? Here instead, quantum mechanics allows me to make superposition of each one of these 4 states. So I can write a quantum mechanical state which is perfectly legitimate, that is some coefficient times this, plus some coefficient times that, plus some coefficient times that, plus some coefficient. So to determine the state of this 2-spin system, I need to give you 4 numbers, 4 coefficients. Whereas in the classical example of the 2 bits, I only need to give you 2 bits. So this is how you understand why 2 qubits actually contain 4 bits of information. I need to give you 4 numbers to tell you the state of this system. Whereas here I only need 2. Now if we made 3 spins, we would have 8 different states. I need to give you 8 different numbers to define the state of those 3 spins. Whereas classical is just 3 bits. If you keep going, what you'll find is that the amount of equivalent classical information contained by n qubits is 2 to the power n classical bits. And of course, the power of exponentials tells you that once you have, let's say, 300 of those qubits in what we call the fully entangled state, so you must be able to create these really crazy states where there is a superposition of all 300s being one way and another way and another way and so on, then you have like 2 to the 300 classical bits, which is as many particles as there are in the universe.
But there's a catch. Although the qubits can exist in any combination of states, when they are measured, they must fall into one of the basis states, and all the other information about the state before the measurement is lost.
So you don't want, generally, to have as the final result of your quantum computation something that is a very complicated superposition of states, because you cannot measure a superposition. You can only measure one of these basis states. Right?
Like down, down, up, up.
Yeah. So what you want is to design...
All right, let's get up out of there. Let's get into a couple scriptures. This was a fun one right here. Matthew 6. KJT. Let's go to verse 27. Let's start at verse 26. It's Matthew chapter 6, verse 26. Behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? You know, that's the spirit, because even as these people, they try to implement this whole system and this whole quantum computer system that they want to rule over people through this mark of the beast, okay? Which, you know, they're going to be kicking people, not allowing people to buy and sell if they don't have that. Well, guess what? Do the crows, do the ravens buy or sell? Do the animals buy or sell? But the Yahweh Shem Yahushua still takes care of them. So if we don't want to connect with this system, and there's the powers that be are saying, well, we're going to shut you out of it and you're not going to be able to eat. Well, you know, screw them, because the Lord got us, and that's the mind state that we have to have. Continuing on, verse 26, behold the fowls of the air, For they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? Okay? And this is powerful at this very moment right here. It's powerful forever, but, just bringing this one out because it's going to connect a little bit to what I'm going to bring out next, Revelation 13th chapter. Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature? So taking thoughts can add 1 cubit to his stature. Now let's get it. Let's go. Okay, this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. So just like we read in Matthew chapter 6, just like I read in Matthew 6, who can any of you, by just taking a thought, add 1 cubit to his stature? Okay, so where do they want to put these qubits? They want to have these qubits in your head also, okay? And this is going to be this mark of the beast, okay? And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their hand or in their foreheads, okay? And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. But let's go up. Let's go up to verse 14. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And what's these miracles are this technology, okay? Talking about the weaponry, talking about these computers and all the rest of these technologies, these quote unquote new ways of life, these doctrines, okay? Let's start it again, verse 14, Revelation 13. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, in that wound, the beast that had a wound and did live, that was that first Roman Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire. Okay, then they went out of power. They came out of power for approximately probably 1200, 1300 years. Then they came back into power, and I believe it was through the I want to say the Ottoman Empire. They started the so-called, not the so-called, but the biblical Edomites, in which they ran the Roman Empire. They started infiltrating when they came out of the cave systems, in which they are called Caucasians because they went into the Caucasus Mountains, and you can read about it in Job, the 30th chapter, and Revelation, the 20th chapter, how they were driven forth from men, and they went and hid in the caves and in the forest and whatever the case be, and they went into that caveman-like state. Okay, and that was prophesied for them to be that way for 1,000 years. So then when that 1,000 years expired, they came back out, and now they're the cause of all the death and the trouble in the world, because this is that devil that was cast into the bottomless pit, and that bottomless pit is the Caucasus Mountains. Verse 15, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Tried looking this up before, but let's get a little bit more on this tuber. On the tube. Okay. Talking about the image of the beast, Terminator Genesis. Terminator Genesis. Skynet. Skynet coming online. Let's look it up. Let's see what we can get. I'm looking for the movie Terminator Genesis. Oh yeah, breaking into Skynet. Let's fair use. I'm not gaining any this is not any monetary gain, all right? It's for educational purposes.
They call him the harder farmer, a real bad man with a soft side for hard lemonade. He's got a nose for
Bam.
It's a shame you won't take a more public role in the company, John.
Quantum field generator works.
Yeah, that and nothing. Our pre-orders as of this afternoon have reached 1 billion.
Trying to get this part
There are whole rooms
where
that are
they
abandoned.
actually
That's why I
show
told
the
Pops to use it.
Skynet
You have weapons down there?
coming online.
Supplies, tactical gear, clothing, including.
And then they break into the building, and the building is guarded by an artificial intelligence that they use holographic imagery to project. And this is gonna be that thing that governs the people. Now they ain't gonna show me the good stuff. We want the good stuff. They not gonna show me that. Let's see. Let's look up Skynet AI. Skynet AI. AI for Terminator. Well, nah, I couldn't find it, but anyway, we're gonna hit some more scriptures because we still talking about qubits, which is the quantum bit. But guess what? It's not. These people like to blaspheme. These people like blasphemy. Let's get Exodus chapter 37. Exodus 37, verse 25. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood. The length of it was a cubit, and the breadth of it was a cubit. It was 4 square, and 2 cubits was the height of it. The horns thereof were of the same. Okay, so we talking about cubits. A cubit was a ancient, holy, purest form of measurement. Okay, and he made the incense. This is Exodus. It's Exodus chapter 37, verse 25. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood, and the length of it was a cubit, and the breadth of it was a cubit. It was 4 square, and 2 cubits was the height of it. The horns thereof were of the same. So we talking about 4 square. It was 4 square, the altar. So we talking going back to linking this back with quadratics. 2 cubits, just like we was watching on that video. 2 cubits is 4 when you add 2 cubits, okay? You got that X and that Y. You got that X and that Y axis in which you graph quadratics on. And quadratics is how you get those what you those are graphing parabolas through quadratic equations. So basically these bastards are trying to they're trying to open up these stargates, open up these portals. Okay, so this is when we talking about graphing parabolas using quadratic equations, we talking about these four planes going into these different dimensions. Bam, just a couple, just a little snippet of graphing parabolas going into these four. So you have the x-axis and the y-axis, right? I believe the x-axis goes horizontal and the y-axis goes vertical. And through these, now you have 4 different planes. So maybe that x-axis, just linking stuff. I'm not always 1,000% sure because I haven't studied these things. But just putting 2 and 2 together, maybe one qubit could represent the x-axis and another qubit could represent the y-axis, which will give you these arcs being struck. Okay, so now when you add in another 2 qubits, now you can strike 2 arcs, and then you keep adding these more qubits going into quantum computation that's keep striking these arcs that's solving these, that are solving problems into a whole different realm. Okay, because now we got these different planes that is computing going, and that's how they're using this as for their sorceries and their soothsayings and their trying to contact familiar spirits. Okay, so let's get back into that Exodus, the 37th chapter, and I'm gonna end this off. Exodus 37. And I believe before I ended off in Exodus 37, I believe in Revelation, it's talking about the qubit also, because these people want to put everything into the cloud. And just how we read in Isaiah the 19th chapter, the Lord cometh in a swift cloud. You feel me? The Lord cometh riding upon a swift cloud. Okay? They want to have everything in a cloud. Just like I told you, everything is about blasphemy. So they want everything to be in a cloud. They want to build their heaven upon this cloud. But no, the Lord is gonna come. The Lord is gonna come on their hard drive, on whatever the hell type of quantum computing system that they have, and the Lord is gonna come in His own cloud, which is representative of the chariots that He has, which is these UFOs. So even when they're talking about alien attacks, and that's another good thing, the Wadi Habashim Yawashai. Okay, let's go to Zechariah, the 5th chapter. Because that damn Gordy was talking about, I believe the CEO of D-Wave, which is a quantum computer manufacturing company. And then I believe it was another company called, not Kindle, but Kinder, something like that. Zechariah 5. Because he's talking about aliens are coming. Yeah, aliens gonna come for sure. But not the type of aliens that you think. Zechariah chapter 5, verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. So when it says the Lord, just how we read in Isaiah the 19th chapter, the Lord is gonna come on a swift cloud. Why? Because He's going to be coming in this flying roll. And what is this flying roll indicative of? Unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Verse 2. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth. For every one that stealeth shall be cut off as on this side according to it, and every one that sweareth shall be cut off as on that side according to it. I will bring it forth, saith the Lord of hosts, and it shall enter into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely by my name, and it shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. And it's talking about these houses. Who's the house of the thief? How was America gained? How was Europe gained? How was Africa colonized? How was Australia gained? Okay, how have these so-called white folks, how have they taken control of the whole earth by rape, robbery, and murder? And even in their court systems, you gotta swear in on the Bible, but they don't uphold any biblical law. So this is indicative. This is talking about so-called the white man, biblical Edom. Okay. Then the angel that talked with me went forth and said unto me, lift up now thine eyes. Okay. So that's pretty much it that I had in Zechariah the 5th chapter. But I want to speak on that altar of shittim wood. That's was it made for the incense? Let's get it again. Exodus 37. Why does it keep doing that to me? Let's go to Exodus 37. Let's go down. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood, and the length of it was a cubit, and the breadth of it was a cubit. It was 4 square, and 2 cubits was the height of it. The horns thereof were of the same. Okay, so this is the altar to offer incense on. And who are they offering incense to? A strange god. And what's going to be part of that altar? They want to make you a part of that altar, in which you're sacrificing continually your energy, because your energy is going to be caught up in their cloud, in which this that those quantum computers are going to be doing the computation. Okay, they're going to be a part of that offering too. Okay, because when people are offering up their energy, okay, and when the priest lit the off when the priest lit that incense, that was like a connection to the Most High. Okay, we're talking about the Israelite priests. When the priest that was over lighting the incense, when he did that, that was to connect with God, but they want you to connect with them, their gods. Okay, in which they want to be gods over you. That was what I had in that. I want to get one more. I believe it's in the book of Revelation, about the qubits in the kingdom of heaven. 144 qubits, which is the measurement of a man, something like that. Revelation, the 21st chapter, verse 17, and he measured the wall thereof 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is of the angel. Okay, and like I said, blasphemy, they want to they can name it anything. Now it makes sense that it's called a qubit, because it's called a quantum bit. But just the fact that they like to blaspheme, and that's why they named it such. So with that being said, Kal Lau, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakah HaKwadash, Shalom.